Hey there, welcome into the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. Amy Campbell alongside Eagles great Ike Reese. And surprise, we're here a little bit earlier than we expected to be. The game canceled because of lightning. The score 26-15, the Ravens leading in the fourth quarter. Ike, a lot to take away from this. A really unpleasant to watch first half and a really fun second half, half of a second half to watch.
Sloppy in the first half.
Yeah.
You can get that sometimes in the preseason games. A lot of penalties. I'm sure one of the main coaching points that Doug will take away from this game, particularly in that first half, is the sloppy play. The one thing coaches don't like, pre-snap penalties, false starts, things of that nature.
There were a lot of those.
Yeah, and it really makes the offense sort of sputter. It's hard to get in the rhythm. It's hard to call plays when you're constantly behind the sticks, meaning 1st and 15, 2nd and 20. So I know Doug and the coaches won't be happy about the first half sloppy play, but they went in the locker room at halftime and they came out, regrouped. Defense played much better in the second half. Offense started getting things going, particularly at the quarterback position.
So the official message coming from the team, due to weather, the game has been terminated. Also, if you're watching us on Facebook, send us some questions, send us some comments. We'll be checking those throughout the show. Ike, let's get to your takeaways. I know you always have your 3 takeaways. Yeah. Let's get going with those.
Well, it's hard not to come away from this game impressed with 18-year vet now,
yes.
Josh McCown, recently unretired, just signed with the Eagles this week. Looked like he had been retired early in practice, trying to knock the rust off. But I thought tonight, man, after those first few plays where you had a false start, you had a fumble snap, he settled down, the offense settled down, and he really did get into a rhythm. And you see why the Eagles were so high on wanting to bring in a guy like Josh McCown, who, like I said, he's in his 18th season, 40 years old, not going to be surprised or overwhelmed with the moment. Just needed to take time to get that rust knocked off. I must admit, Amy, I was very impressed with the way he looked tonight.
I was blown away by him. The man is 40 years old, you mentioned, going into his 18th season. I heard on the broadcast, I believe it was Ross Tucker, who said he's had a different offense every single year he's played. He's learned a different offense. He's been in Philadelphia for 4 days, and you could see that in the first series, and then all of a sudden looked like he knew exactly what he was doing out there. He went 0 for 3 to start and then went 17 of 21, 192 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I am so impressed with his ability to learn offenses quickly and look so comfortable and confident. This man must be an absolute genius.
Well, I tell you, being in the league for 18 years, he's certainly seen just about everything a defense can throw at you. And I know it's the preseason. They aren't going to make the schemes complicated. The offense is something he's familiar with. He's played in enough offenses, 18 years, 18 different coordinators. I'm pretty sure
it's ridiculous.
It just takes him a little while. Here's the thing I like tonight, though, Amy. I thought Doug did a great job of getting him some easy throws.
Yeah.
You know, you get the crossing routes, you get the screen passes. Once they got down to the red zone, they allowed him to throw the ball in the end zone. And that's what you need to do to help your quarterback sort of find his rhythm. And I thought Doug did a great job calling, he and Press Taylor calling the game tonight for Josh McCown, putting him in positions so that he can be successful. Because here's the thing, Josh McCown's going to make this team, right? We know they brought him in for a reason. He's not here trying out. He's probably going to be here. But it was important for those younger players that were playing with him to have a quarterback like that out there, so it allows those guys to shine, which brings me to my next guy.
Yes.
Which brings me to my next guy, second-round draft pick, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Obviously, his best performance as an Eagle to date, albeit in the preseason, 8 catches, over 100 yards, finally got in the end zone, and probably could have had several other catches with more yards added to it and possibly another touchdown. I thought this was a coming out sort of for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and it helps him to have a guy like Josh McCown throwing him the football. When you get the younger guys out there, you know, they don't necessarily know where the football needs to go at all times, and Josh McCown put the ball in places where his receivers and running backs can do some damage afterwards. And I thought J.J. did a great job of getting yards after the catch. For those who didn't stay up late during his years at Stanford to watch him play,
Pac-12 after dark.
this is what he typically
Yes.
did every night. And he's a big receiver, loves contact, isn't afraid of contact, is never looking to go down or out of bounds, always looking for those extra yards. And tonight we got the chance to see him in that red zone is a big reason why the Eagles drafted him. And the contributions that he more than likely is going to make early to this offense will be in that area of the field where you can just throw the ball up and allow him to use that big body to come down with catches.
Well, you could see him and McCown really start to develop that rhythm as the game went on. And also, Ross kind of joked on the broadcast, like, I wonder if McCown even knows half the names of the guys he's throwing to. So he's getting that rhythm, and the way he was able to do that so quickly, especially with J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. And then you talk about the yards after the catch. He had a couple of nice moves to really extend those plays that were already pretty big plays. He made them even bigger, and that's going to be one of the valuable things that he can do for this team.
Yeah, it's been a while since we had a receiver around here that can get you that yak, the yards after catch, and especially a big guy like JJ. He's young. I can't wait to watch him continue to grow in this offense. And the more that he learns about the offense, the more that the coaching staff figures out where they can use him at. Man, you get that 12 personnel out there, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, and a running back. You're looking at Deshaun on one side, Alshon on the other, Zach and Goddard as your tight ends.
A lot of mouths to feed.
Right? Like it's a lot of weapons. But you get these guys down in that red zone, it's going to be difficult to keep them out of the end zone. I think JJ will be a part of that as the year continues to grow on. And then another guy like a young player who's getting another shot at trying to stake his claim in this league, and that's tight end Ellis. I thought he did a good job in the offense. He caught Josh McCown's second touchdown down in the red zone. By the way, what a nice throw. McCown under pressure, put that ball in the only place the tight end could catch it. Ellis could catch it. Great job by the young fella making sure he secured that touchdown. And then I love the fact that he has to go out there and cover the kick on the very next play, and he goes and makes the tackle.
Oh, and that was quite a tackle.
That impressed me.
That was some physicality. I know you like that. Was that some Ike juice?
Yeah, he had a little Ike juice there. I like that play. And he's a guy that has been flashing in practices, and it was great to see him get a chance because they're down a couple tight ends to get an opportunity to show that he can do something in the offense as well. I thought he did a nice job of at least putting his name on the board for those coaches to think about as far as a possible, young player on your roster, a guy that can do multiple things. When you're a backup in this league, you're going to have to play multiple positions, including special teams. And offensive players that are willing to go down there and make tackles on coverage units, they're going to always be welcomed. I like what I saw from the young tight end tonight.
So once again, I want to remind everyone, we are taking your questions on Facebook, your comments. Please send them in if you're watching on Facebook. If you're not, get on Facebook and send us questions, comments. We'll break it all down right here for you. I want to go back to Alex Ellis in that tight end position. This is a tough team for a young tight end to come in here, knowing that Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert are here. That's already established. But of course, with the injury to Richard Rodgers as well, that leaves the group with a little bit of question mark, some opportunity for young guys like Alex Ellis, Will Tye as well to kind of, have those nice moments in the preseason. You talk about that special teams contribution. How much does that tip the scale in a guy's favor when he shows he's able to add value on special teams and isn't afraid of that contact, isn't afraid to, put his nose in, put a hat on a guy?
Yeah, you're not allowed to stick your helmet in there anymore. Right. So we got to be careful with saying that.
To use an old school phrase, but we'll metaphorically go with that.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think it's big, and for all young players and backup players, you have to be willing to embrace playing that phase of the game and sort of biding your time to either play offense or defense. And when you're a young player, sometimes that's difficult because we were all stars in college for our respective teams. You don't get to the NFL without being one of the better players, but a lot of us didn't play special teams during our careers in college. So it can be difficult for young guys to adjust to that phase of the game and to be effective. And the sooner you do it, I think the better chances you give yourself of making a squad, because coaches love players that are versatile. Coaches love players that'll do the dirty work that other guys won't do. I'm a living testament of it. I managed to stay in this league for 9 years doing that, and there was a lot of guys that were drafted, higher draft picks, that weren't willing to do that. And so a guy like Alex Ellis, he's going to seize that opportunity because he knows there's only 53 roster spots on 32 teams. And so if you're able to secure one of those spots because you're willing to do the dirty work that someone else isn't willing to do, then kudos to you. And you got to have that mentality.
Why do you think that is? This always blows my mind when you say, guys who are willing to make that effort on special teams. If that's going to keep you employed, that's going to keep you in the league, your paycheck coming in. Why is it that so many people aren't willing to do that when it just seems like it's just an effort thing, isn't it?
I agree. For several reasons, right? And probably the first thing, we all think that we're too good to play special teams, right? I talked about, most players being stars of their college football teams and not having to play much special teams. So players tend to view it as a demotion. I had a coach tell me and a player, Mike Caldwell, who was
I have to let you finish later
ready?
Because no, I thought Coach was ready to take the stand, but we're gonna wait for that. So yes, keep telling your story, Ike. I was really into this.
So you get veteran players who have made their careers in this league by being a backup and a special team guy. I had a guy like Mike Caldwell who stressed to me the importance of embracing that role until you get your opportunity to start. And I think young players, sometimes don't grasp that concept. They think they're too good to play special teams. And so they never really truly put the effort and the time into being a good special teams player. And the other thing is guys are afraid they're going to get typecast as a special teams player.
Does that happen?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. It can happen. But here's the thing. It's very little that you can do to change what a coach sort of perceives you to be in this league, right? So at some point, the number one objective is to be an NFL player. And then it's to be a player at a certain position. And that's sort of the mindset I kept throughout my whole career, was that my dream was to play in the NFL. Not to play linebacker in the NFL, not to start in the NFL, but to play in the NFL. So I embraced that role. And the guys that are able to do that, they stick around for a long time because coaches love those types of players.
Yeah, and it just, like you said, it seems like kind of that effort, that competitive fire that coaches love to see. I want to shift to another guy on offense who we saw for the first time in some preseason game action tonight for the first time in a long time, and that's Clement, who we hasn't seen game action since he was injured against the Cowboys in early December last year. Had a couple nice moments there in the first half. What did you see from him in terms of his rehab, knocking the rust off, obviously just kind of getting his legs back underneath of him?
I'd say the biggest thing I noticed, Amy, was he looked like he had a little pep in his step tonight.
Well, he was so excited to be back out there.
Saw some of the videos prior to the game. He was one of the ones in pregame warm-up, real excited, dancing around. And that's a good thing. He wanted to get out there and show that he can still play in this league and be effective. The offensive, the run blocking wasn't as good this week as it was last week. So none of the running backs saw a lot of daylight, but the 7 carries that Corey had, he averaged 3.6 yards per carry. I thought he showed a quickness to the hole. He's always going to be a tough runner who rarely goes down on first contact. And you talked about the running back position being a deep position on this team, and they're probably going to either release or wind up trading a good football player, young running back on his team, because you just don't have enough roster spots.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one.
I thought it was a good step for Corey in the right direction to get some rust knocked off.
All right, well, let's shift to the press conference. Here's Coach Doug Pederson.
Obviously whether to finish the game. Obviously we had to get league approval, for them to terminate the game. But, we just talked and just kind of hung out in the hallway here. Just small talking, just talking about camp, talking about the regular season. But really, we were just kind of waiting on the league's decision at that time.
What did it say about Josh that he was coaching high school football a week ago and he came in and handled himself pretty well tonight?
I thought he did a really good job. Veteran player, obviously. The game plan. I had him just highlight plays he knew in 4 days, and just called off of that, and he handled it extremely well. Bounced back there in the third quarter and led 2 touchdown drives and kind of got us back in the game. So I was obviously pleased with the way he handled himself.
There's been a lot of starters on both sides of the ball, but Carson didn't play. What went into that decision?
Yeah, obviously my decision not to play him. Listen, there's a lot of we've had a lot of good work with him in training camp. We had a lot of great work against Baltimore this week in practice, and I'm real comfortable where he's at right now at his development, his growth with the team, with the offense. We also did, I did the same thing with Darren Sproles tonight. I didn't also, Miles didn't get in there, Jordan Howard. There were a couple other players we didn't play, on purpose. But I'm comfortable where he is, how he's leading this football team, and just felt like this was another opportunity to look at the other guys to play.
How do you think Josh picked this up? And I know it wasn't a lot in the playbook. Picked this up so quickly and did such a good job.
Well, he spent a lot of time with Coach Taylor, with press, early in the week and before practices, at night, just kind of cranking through the game plan and really kind of fine-tuned it. Just for him, it was just all about the game plan. We didn't give him the whole playbook, but just wanted him to be comfortable with a few plays. And my plan all along was to, let him go 2+ quarters, in this football game and kind of let him get his feet back into the game and did a nice job.
It's a pretty big decision to sit Carson. What has he shown you in training camp? He said, "This guy's we're good."
He's really. I think from a leadership standpoint, on and off the field, how he's really taken charge of the team, not just the offense, but the team. Some of the things that I see him really. Opening himself up to, the offense from the standpoint of letting the offense work, and that just comes from time with the system, and developing his repertoire of plays and what he likes and getting comfortable and he's really done an outstanding job, and even physically from his rehab back in the spring all the way through training camp. He's clicking on all cylinders. His mind is good. His body feels fresh, and all the things that we've seen through camp have really, for me, that was the deciding factor.
So he's ready week 1. If he had to play a regular season football game tomorrow, he could go.
Yeah, he could go, and our guys could roll. I mean, again, the thing with preseason too is we're here to evaluate, and we're to evaluate some of the backup, the role players, the situational guys, and we needed some answers from our backup quarterbacks, and obviously unfortunate, Nate got hurt in week 1. Otherwise, he's taken a lot of these reps, so. But yeah, I feel comfortable with the guys, even Darren Sproles. I feel comfortable putting him back out there, and just watching Jason Peters tonight, and Isaac and Kelsey. I mean, these guys wanted to play and they wanted to be out there and kind of feel the game, So, yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
With the running backs in particular, why sit Jordan and Miles after playing the first 2 games, and why give Corey the amount of work he did?
Well, one, we needed to see Corey a little bit more. He hasn't played in a while, so we needed to see some more time. Felt like we had, we had checked the boxes with Miles and Jordan a little bit in these first two games, and obviously through camp. So it was really Corey's time, to play, and I thought he did some really good things out there tonight.
Talking about evaluation, young players, JJ had a lot of traffic, a lot of production tonight. What does that say about him that he's able to do that with a quarterback that's been here for a couple days?
Yeah, I just think it's, one of the things, JJ's a hard worker. You see it in practice every day. He comes to work every day. He wants to get better. He wants to be taught. He wants to learn. He's got a great mentor in Alshon in front of him, and so he's learning from that. And then being able to talk to Josh or talk to Carson during the week, talk about routes, talk about coverage, and that's where he really takes it over to the field. And I think that's what you saw tonight with him, and his ability to make plays. And the red zone, we know he can be explosive, and he was able to do that really not only there but out in the field.
How difficult of a decision you had at quarterback with the numbers that you have there?
Yeah, I mean it's a challenging decision. Obviously, something we still got. Beauty of it is we got one more game. We got one more preseason game to really, see these guys in action one more time and make some hard decisions. Next week, and that's the thing this week is. My message to all of those guys, not just QBs, but to all the backups, the guys that are fighting for jobs, is man, this is your opportunity, and make the most of it. I was one of those guys not so long ago, and so I understand what they're going through, and they want to put good tape out there, and this is their opportunity.
McCown's first game in a year or so. What was the importance for him to be out there?
I think again, just to get out there and feel the game, feel the energy, feel that nervousness, that butterfly feeling, getting out there into the game and getting that first hit, that first tackle. I thought he moved around well. Of course, I'll evaluate the film, look at it in the morning, and watch him some more, closely. But overall, felt like he really settled in and did a nice job.
How do you feel about how Jake Elliott's played this preseason?
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to see, some of those kicks go in. Been a little inconsistent there. He's a hard worker. I have a lot of confidence in Jake. The operation has been good between Rick and Cam and Jake. They work hard doing that. But, you'd love to see a few more of those go between the uprights. But that's something he takes to heart, and he'll get better, and he'll make them down the road. Okay, thanks.
Coach Doug Pederson sharing his thoughts on this game, of course talking about some of the things that we've touched on, the big storylines, Josh McCown, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Your takeaway from what Coach just had to say?
Well, I mean, listen, Coach is always going to have to straddle the fence a little bit when he's talking about playing players versus sitting players. And we just have to trust that Coach knows best, right? He gets to see these guys every day. He understands who needs a little more work. He's conversing with his coaching staff about which players need time out there on the field. And I was not surprised for him to sort of hint at the idea or the fact that some of his veteran offensive linemen sort of wanted to go out there and play tonight, almost requesting to go out there and play. Guys like Jason Peters, Jason Kelsey, those guys, when you're an older guy, you want to get the feel for the game. And sometimes you don't want to wait until opening day to get a feel for the game. So the coach has to trust you, and you have to trust that he's going to get you out of there when he thinks you've had enough work. And I'm okay with that. The one thing I've learned, Coach Pederson knows his football team, and he saw things he wanted to see tonight from certain guys like a Corey Clement. He wanted to see Corey play. We've watched Miles and Jordan the first two games, so he wanted to give Corey Clement a fair shot at getting a lot of carries because he hasn't had very many carries at all this preseason. So, and then the other thing I thought was interesting, and it makes more sense now once Doug explained it, when we talk about Josh McCown, the thing you do is you ask him, okay, which of these plays are you comfortable with running? Josh picks out about 5 or 6, 7 plays that he likes, that he knows, and Doug calls those plays. That's the simple thing to do, right?
That's a good coach right there.
Yeah.
Of course, he mentioned he's going to have some tough decisions to make as well. We're going to be right back. Stay with us here at the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. We do have to shut down the social media stream, but keep it with us at PhiladelphiaEagles.com. We will be right back.